the focal plane, as I'm moving the focal plane up, the blur is coming back towards the camera, and we're actually getting a response now. So we can set the focal plane, let's set it to say 0.35, something like that, and now we can move the focal distance towards the camera and further away from the camera. So if we wanted to isolate this central cylinder here, what we could do is, I'll just bring this back a little bit so that we've got a bit of blur on the first and last cylinder, and then I can slide my focal plane thickness in so that it's about the distance between two cylinders, and move it in and out, and just isolate that one in the center there. And then we can bring our radius down. We set it quite high so we could illustrate where we were, but bring it down to something a little more practical, like 1.5, something like that. And so now we have the central cylinder is in focus, and the fall off of depth of field blur is going away behind and away in front, and that's exactly what you want. And so we can, I'll just undo that, so we can move that depth of field to whichever cylinder or whichever part of the scene you want to hold the crisp focus. So that's just a little tip, and it's certainly something that I've run into before. Out of various 3D packages, your render of the Z depth information, sometimes those numbers just simply don't gel, and the biggest problem is that your focal plane and your focal plane thickness sliders are simply too large in tolerance. They're minus 10,000 to plus 10,000, and 0 to 10,000 on the focal plane thickness is just much too big for some of the renders. So the first thing you should always do is just get in, check your focal plane thickness by having the focal plane number at the top here set to 0, and just play with the numbers, type in some numbers until you basically test what the depth is from the camera position all the way to the last object or the furthest object in your scene, and then you'll know what your focal plane thickness is, and therefore what your tolerance needs to be on these sliders. So give that a try if you've run into this problem before. You could certainly solve the issue in After Effects, but there are, like I said, some instances in 3D where you can actually set the camera information up so that the render is a little better on those numbers. So give that a try. Until next time.